Cultivating Calmness Podcast. I am your host, Kaela Vance, and today I want to talk to you about my new business venture of 2024, and that is Teal Saguaro Wellness Incorporated. I am so excited to be able to announce and open my, next private practice. It's still my private practice, and the hope is that over the coming months and years, this will expand into a complete wellness center, including mental health counseling, as well as many other treatment modalities, because I believe in holistic health and wellness and holistic mental health. And to me, that means, considering the whole body and the whole self, not just the symptoms you experience, not just the things that have happened to you, but all the things that maybe are going on inside you as well. And in order to treat someone, we need to treat the whole person. And so I love counseling, and I love being able to work on trauma and grief, which are my specialties, but I also like exploring those root causes, which we can do in a for your mental health, for example, like exploring your history, your family history, the things that have happened to you in your life. But we can also do that from a physical health perspective and understanding, why you're experiencing the symptoms you're experiencing, and treat those in many ways. So what I like to tell my clients when it comes to holistic health and wellness is, you can come to me for depression and anxiety and your trauma and grief and things like that, and we can talk about it, and we can work through it, and we can work on those memories, and you can have better reactions, and you can improve a lot of those things. But I cannot change, through our talk therapy, through maybe the EMDR that I use, we cannot change your physiological, your biology and what's going on. So if your hormones, for example, are all over the place and they're not doing what they should be doing, me talking to you is not going to change that. There are going to be other things that need to happen in order for those hormones to get back in balance, to be at what we would call homeostasis, meaning, even and where they need to be. And I wish I could say just sitting on a couch and talking about it would change those things and make everything better. But it's not. So that's why I wanted to create Teal Saguaro Wellness, to be able to pull in different modalities and different treatment options so that people can have a well-rounded way of treating themselves, and treating their families, and reaching that homeostasis and overall wellness for themselves. So today I just want to talk a little bit more about that, and really talk about where the name came from and why I really like this so much, and why I'm so excited to be taking these steps. So in the coming weeks and months, I'll be looking for prospective employees and people to work with me in some of those modalities. And if you're listening to this and you are in the Columbus, Dublin, Ohio area, then reach out. We would love to talk to you. Along with all the other things that I've been doing all year, those things aren't going to stop. We're just going to continue to expand, and I'm just really excited for that. So Teal Saguaro Wellness. The wellness is pretty self-explanatory. I just kind of talked a little bit about that. But Teal Saguaro, why Teal Saguaro? Well, teal is one of my favorite colors, and it's been one of my favorite colors for a while, but I can back it up even further, that teal represents the awareness color for ovarian cancer, and ovarian cancer holds a special place in my heart and in my family because many, many years ago, my mom was diagnosed with ovarian cancer, and she did end up dying from ovarian cancer, and ever since a young age, my family and I have participated in awareness walks, and actually when I graduated, or I guess right before I graduated with my undergraduate degree, I did my internship with the Ovarian Cancer Alliance of Ohio, and so teal represents some of that in my life, but also it's just a pretty color, and I really like it. So that's where the word, the color teal came from. Could have picked any color, although when I think about it, if I said green saguaro, green is my favorite color. And I mean, saguaros are already green, so that didn't really feel very unique. And then saguaro. What is a saguaro? Well, if you're in Columbus, Ohio, you probably haven't heard of that. Wouldn't know what it is, but if you saw it, you would probably recognize it. And so if you're watching this, it is one of those very large cacti that looks a little bit something like this. And that's just a very tall cactus with some arms that stick out on either side. If you actually go to the Sonoran Desert area, which is typically Arizona and Mexico, is my understanding, where where saguaros are native. They are not typically just a straight cactus with two arms. They can be just a straight cactus with no arms. They can be with one arm. They can have a multitude of arms. They are all over the place in Tucson. So Tucson is a place that is near and dear to my heart, and I've now been there a handful of times and love it there. I have family there, and so since I can't go there and won't be living there, at least not right now, I thought I would bring a little bit of that here to me and share it with you. So hopefully you listen to this podcast, you see some of my ads on social media, and me talking about it will help everybody know how to say the word saguaro. If you were to see it, it is spelled Saguaro. And most people, when I ask and I show them that word without saying it first, it's saguaro or saguaro. It's saguaro. The G is, or it sounds like it's silent. So now you know. Learn something new if you didn't know. But the saguaro is a cactus, like I said, that grows in the Sonoran Desert. It stands very tall, and I'll get to some of those facts here in a little bit. It thrives in very harsh conditions. It lives in they grow in a desert, and if we know anything about a desert, it doesn't get much rain or water, and so the cacti have to take in as much water as they can when they can get it, which is rare. Usually out in the desert they have monsoon season, which is where it rains a lot in a very short period of time, and then might not get rain for a while. So these saguaros have to be able to retain all that water and make it thrive for who knows how long, because they don't know when they're going to get water again. They, I guess, are what I would call a symbol of endurance and adaptability and growth. And because of those things that we know about saguaros, like I want to be able to provide that for my clients. I want my clients to be able to endure. I want them to be able to adapt, and I want them to be able to grow and through whatever they're going through, in whatever is going on in their lives. And I want to empower them to be able to do those things on their own or with help. Oftentimes people feel stuck, like they can't do things. They get in certain mindsets, and it can prevent them from making the progress that they are fully capable of making. And it's never usually just one thing, although it can be. We can hit those roadblocks, and saguaro can be a symbol for difficult things that can endure and be beautiful. One of the first times, it may have been the first time, maybe it was the second time, I went to Tucson. I saw all the places to see, and there was a little gift shop at one of the parks that we went to, and it had a little bookmark, and it was called Advice from a Saguaro. And I actually found out, I did some research so that I could give credit, and that was from a company called Your True Nature, and they have this advice from a saguaro. So advice from a saguaro, it's a little poem that says, stand tall, reach for the sky, be patient through dry spells, conserve your resources, think long term, wait for your time to bloom, and stay sharp. And I love all of those things about the saguaro and what those things can represent. Not only just the like the symbolism in a saguaro, but when we think about your mental health, when we think about your physical health and overall well-being, I believe all of those things to be true. We want to be able to stand tall. We want to be able to encourage, I want to be able to encourage my clients to be better, to see themselves as better, to see themselves as being a good thing rather than maybe bringing themselves down, shrinking back, feeling like they're not good enough. Standing tall would represent the opposite of all of those things. Reaching for the sky, saguaro can grow, I had to do a little bit of research for this, can grow 40 to 60 feet tall. So 40 to 60 feet tall. Imagine how tall you are. I'm 5'5". And when you're standing next to a saguaro, even the small ones are very big. So imagine standing next to a 40 to 60 foot tall saguaro that is mostly straight with some arms. I'm not a very good gauge of height, honestly, or depth or anything like that, but that's tall. I believe that's taller than my house because it's an 8-foot ceiling, something like that. It's probably taller than my house. That's big. So standing tall is, can be a symbol for many things, but just that you can grow through difficulties. Saguaros grow in the desert, like I said earlier. They have to conserve their energy, they have to conserve water. They don't get to be 40 to 60 feet tall without difficulties, without struggles. And if you ever go to the Sonoran Desert and you ever go actually see a saguaro in person, you will see that none of them look perfect. Meaning they have like divots, they have black spots, they have holes in them, they have all kinds of things that have gotten to them, and yet they still grow, and they still grow through it, and continue to make it through those difficulties while also providing good things for other living creatures. So there's little books that I bought for my kids, like the Cactus Hotel. They act as little hotels for different types of animals, birds, insects. Once they get through that outer shell of the cactus, they can live inside, and it can provide a nice shelter for different creatures. And so we can look at that as a bad thing, but we could also look at that as a good thing. Being patient through the dry spells, when it comes to our health, or it comes to just the phases in life, or seasons in life, as sometimes we call them. Sometimes it feels like we're going through a dry spell, right? Like all the bad things are happening, or nothing good is happening, or it's just kind of meh. And those can be considered dry spells in our life, and we have to be patient through those times, or even just patient through your healing. Oftentimes I talk to people, and myself included, we want our healing to be a quick fix, and oftentimes our healing is not a quick fix. It's something that takes a lot of practice. It takes time and effort, and although we can do things where we do it once or twice and we're good to go, There are a lot of times where it's just consistency over and over and over again. And through that consistency and through that patience, you will see the change eventually. But it may not, it just may feel like it's taking forever to get there. But be patient, you'll get there. And with a supportive team and people who know what they're doing and know how to help you, you may see that progress even faster, which is what I want to see happen with Teal Saguaro Wellness. Is, I want to promote healing and health in a different way than maybe what everyone else, what we're used to experiencing, at least here in America. I don't know about other places, but I definitely have taken the route of more holistic health and wellness myself and for my family, and I know that we see good things for ourselves, and we hope that we can see those for other people. Conserving your resources. This has a lot to, when I think about therapy, thinking about like boundaries and coping skills and doing what is necessary, doing what's good for you versus doing what's good for everybody else. Thinking long term, when I talk to people about setting goals and being realistic, I often tell them to think short term for the long term, because oftentimes we can look only long term, and then when we don't think short term, it kind of deflates people and it can prevent them from reaching those long-term goals, because those long-term goals can be so overwhelming. So I definitely don't want you to not have long-term goals. I do. So I want you to think long-term. We just got to break those things down, and we got to think like, what is my long-term goal for health? We just passed the new year. We're in 2024, so it's that time of year where everybody sets their New Year's resolutions and goals. The resolution is kind of like what we're looking forward to, what we want to do. So I want to be healthier. Okay, let's define what that means, healthier. And then how can we break that down? What are the steps I'm going to take to get to that healthier person I want to be? Waiting for your time to bloom. So a cactus, a saguaro, blooms once a year. I believe it's usually in the spring, and they bloom little white flowers, and they then have fruit in the summer, which are little like pinkish reddish fruits. Again, once a year. And if they don't have the right environment, if they don't have the right temperature, the right amount of water, they may not bloom. Now I could be wrong about that, but I know personally with the plants that I have in my office, and sometimes they flower, sometimes they don't. If they don't get the right amount of sun at the right time, then they don't bloom. So I would have to ask some people about that with a saguaro, but I would guess that it's probably similar. And so sometimes, when we think about that, your time to bloom may not be right now. So if things are not going right, if things are not happening for you, you may consider that it's just not your time right now. And it doesn't mean it's never going to be your time. It just may mean that that time isn't now, and maybe you still have some growth. You still need the right environment. You still need certain things to be in the right place at the right time for you to be able to reach that full potential. And then staying sharp. Cacti, saguaros have prickly spines to prevent predators, but also to protect itself and to protect the animals that do end up living inside of it, the ones who breach that barrier. And staying sharp, meaning also that other meaning from that, meaning like being on top of things, being able to take responsibility, being able to know what you're talking about, to be able to be healthy and function well. So lots of meaning we can find in just that statement alone. So I like that poem, and it is going to guide the practice that we have and what I plan and what I hope to see happen and grow with Teal Saguaro Wellness. And I wanted to finish out with a little bit of some other facts. I did look up some additional facts about saguaros. I knew some of these things, but some things I did learn about. So some things I haven't mentioned. So when you see those big tall saguaros, if you've ever been to Arizona, or you've ever seen pictures, and you'll see some on my social media with me standing next to some soon, but they will only grow 1.5 inches in 10 years. So the first 10 years of life, they don't even grow 2 inches. So I'm not a good gauge of size or anything, but if I'm holding up my finger, I think this is probably about 1.5 inches from the tip of my finger to my knuckle here. It's probably about 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches. That's how big the saguaro is going to be in 10 years if you plant it and it starts to grow. So talk about slow, right? But I think they grow faster after the first 10 years or so from what I read. But that's it's pretty slow, right? And so when you look up how old they are, I guess there's no good way exactly to tell how old they are, but the estimate is that they can be as old as 150 to 200 years old. But the oldest one that was recorded at over 300 years old. It was 40 feet tall, and it had 52 limbs. Whew, that's big. That's big. I can't even imagine 52 limbs. And I know I've seen some really big saguaros. So what are some other facts here? Like I said, 40 to 60 feet tall. Oh, when they're fully hydrated. So when it rains, they can take in as much as, I know I wrote that down somewhere. Oh, they can capture about 200 gallons of water in a single rain. So the big ones can capture 200 gallons in a single rain. But they can weigh, when they're fully hydrated, between 3,200 and 4,800 pounds. So over a ton, almost two tons, when they're fully hydrated. And they get fully hydrated and they can expand. So those ribs in the saguaro that go up and down can expand to hold all that water. And then, throughout the year when they release that water, or they use up that water, it shrinks and it condenses. So they get bigger and smaller because of that. And their roots, though, so remember we said 40 to 60 feet tall, about 4,000 pounds. Their roots go only 4 to 6 inches deep. 4 to 6 inches deep. Like, that's not even as deep as a carrot goes. So if you think about that. But they has usually one taproot, which is a root that will go down 2 feet from what I read. And then the roots, although they go 4 to 6 inches deep, can go out as far as it is tall. So if it's a 60-foot tall cactus, the roots can go out 60 feet. And that's what brings in that water, and that's what's going to support it. Now, it is illegal to dig up or move a saguaro. So I know my family in Tucson has talked about this. If you have one on your property and you just want to move it, if you want to move it from your property to your property, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, so you can correct me if I'm wrong, you have to get permission to do that. If you want to move it from some other place to your property, you have to purchase one, but you have to get special permission to do so. And when you do move a saguaro cactus, they have to mark it. They have to mark, the way that it is sitting. So whatever way faces north, for example, it still has to face north when they put it in the ground in its new location. Because if they don't, it can die because it, I guess, builds up certain thing like protection when it faces certain areas to protect from the weather, the sun, and it may have like a thicker skin or thicker like flesh on different sides because of the weather and the way the sun is. I learned that today, at least that aspect. I knew you had to keep it the same direction, but I didn't understand why. And I do know when with some family in Tucson that they have to cover the tops of the saguaros during weather. So just like here in Ohio, if it's going to get too cold and you still have your garden or you have your garden out, you have to go cover it so that the frost doesn't kill your plants. They have to do the same thing to saguaros if they know that the weather's coming, or if it's going to be too cold, because if it gets too cold on the top of the saguaro, they could die. So I know that that is just another unique fact. I will probably continue to learn more facts about saguaros now that my company is named after them, but I think those were all the things I planned to share with you today about saguaros. Oh, actually one last one. I didn't realize this. So a saguaro will not grow flowers for at least 35 years. And that is considered like the saguaro puberty, for example. So if it's growing flowers, we know that it's likely at least 35 years old. And even then, it's still probably not very tall given what we know about it only growing 1.5 inches in 10 years. So imagine how tall it is in 35 years. I don't know, but probably not extremely tall. Anyway, thank you all for joining me today, and follow along with me this year as we talk about different subjects and different topics. Still going to talk about trauma and grief and therapy, but also going to incorporate some different wellness topics in my podcast episodes. If you follow me and you join me for Therapy Book Thursdays, I will continue to read children's books on therapy subjects, but also going to start incorporating some wellness books as well. If you have favorite books or you have any topics you would be interested in hearing me talk about, feel free to comment or message me and let me know. I would be happy to do that. Thank you so much for joining me. Happy New Year, and I look forward to talking to you some more. Bye.